Good day, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us. We're talking St. Albans Town issues today. A lot to talk about. And we have on board Jonathan Giroux, the St. Albans Town Selectboard Chairman.
Good morning.
And Casey Toof, the pretty much brand new St. Albans Town Manager and State Representative. Thanks for the time. We're taping this show on Thursday, November 20. Boy, just a week from Thanksgiving. Time moving on. Casey, didn't officially, what, day 4 for you as Town Manager?
Yeah, this is day 4. Yep.
Wow.
Just started Monday, so.
Well, congrats.
Thank you.
So anyway, a lot to talk about there. Is this a job that you've thought about in the past? Did this kind of come out of the blue or not at all?
You know, I've thought about it in the past. I've
Really?
always, my service has always been with St. Albans, capacity in the city and the town, and I saw the job posting online, and I jumped on it. I thought about it, and
Really?
I thought it would be a really good opportunity to serve the people of St. Albans closer to home.
Interesting. I mentioned off air that I talked on the phone with Brian Savage this morning, the Swanton Town Administrator. Sometimes I call him manager, but the Swanton Town Administrator, and of course a former state rep, and he wished you well, of course, and said he thought being in the legislature was a good background for your new job.
Yeah, and I worked really well with Brian. I actually had his seat for a little bit, his actual physical seat that we sat in.
Is that right?
And he was really good in
Didn't
the
he
house.
have the same job? You're right now the Assistant House Republican Minority Leader.
Yeah.
Didn't Brian have that same job?
Yes.
Interesting.
And that's when I took over that role, is when he
Okay.
stepped down, and I
Okay.
went into his seat there. And he was actually a really good mentor and helped me
I
when
bet.
I came on, and helped me understand how the building in Montpelier works, and really helped me get to where I was.
Interesting. Well, my first question, of course, I read the Messenger story today, Josh Ellebrock, and I guess he got into that, but my first question would have been, are you going to stay on as state rep in addition to being town manager? And I guess that's the plan?
The plan is right now to do that. It's we have about 6 weeks or so until the session starts up, so I'm really going to weigh, learn about the responsibilities, figure out how day-to-day works, and see if I can be able to manage it while I'm down in Montpelier, because it is a daunting task when you're in Montpelier. We have a lot of stuff to go over. I'm sure we'll talk about a few of those things, but we have a lot of initiatives and things to go into. Usually, not a lot of things happen in an election year, because next year will be an election year, and so it's really hard to pass legislation in an election year, because it does affect how people vote, but it's still going to be a really important year because we have the ed bill.
Boy, the education, I can't wait to get into that with you a little bit.
So there's a lot to go over. So it'll be a really hard year. So we're gonna see the next couple of weeks, and I have a really good support staff there that are helping me get my feet on the ground and running, and we're going. So
Jonathan, yourself and the board, at least open to Casey staying on as state rep?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we laid out some, requests that, or needs that need to be met, while you're down there. And if you can achieve both of those, we're happy with him staying in the legislature also.
Of course, Don Turner comes to mind, the late great Don Turner from Milton. Of course, town manager and stayed on as state rep for a while. And are there anybody else in the state in your position as a legislator and a town manager or town administrator?
Representative Chris Taylor in Milton is.
Oh,
and
sorry, I should have thought of Chris Taylor. Right.
He started in July, I think, this year, or June or July, and so I believe he's going to try to do both as well.
That's a good point. A fellow Republican right next door, pretty much.
And he's on the education committee with me. He's the ranking member on
so
House Ed.
you know him well.
Yeah, so
that's interesting. Wow. Back to the search for town manager. It was a nationwide search. How big a search was it? That's what the Messenger described it as.
I can't remember. Our HR, Aaron Clark, the guy that does our HR for us, he leaded this search. We didn't hire no outside firm, contrary to some of the comments we've seen been floating around Facebook. So
imagine some disinformation on
Facebook.
Facebook.
It's horrible. Like
I don't go near it, but
and apparently some. I'm not even going to repeat them because it's horrible. And anyway, so there was a surge. We had our final candidate. We had a candidate from Burlington area, Shelburne, and another one from Maine that was a finalist.
So kind of three
three
finalists.
and we've had we had, I think, total of 5 that we interviewed in person, but Aaron, like the HR thing, he'll call them, give them like a 45-minute on the phone to see if it's
Yeah.
even worth putting in front of the select board. Cause you know,
Yeah.
we could spend years on trying to find, you know, if we gotta
Yeah.
go through, 50 some odd candidates,
Yeah.
So Aaron did that for us. That's what they typically do.
Yeah. In case, and it came down to Representative Toof.
Yeah, the vote stood to have Casey as a
Yeah.
town manager. Yeah.
Interesting. So you had given that some thought, Casey.
Yeah, I mean, I have a political background. I've been in serving for 7 years in the House. It was always something that, you see these positions typically don't open up every day, so it's not
Yeah.
like something like, one day I'm going to be a town manager, but it's the public, being in the public sector, it's been like a passion of mine in serving people, so it seemed like a good fit. It seemed like a good fit talking to my family, especially.
And your growing family, how's baby doing well, I trust?
He's doing great. He's
Yeah.
over 4 months now, and,
Yeah.
and he is just happy, and he sleeps for the most part, and he's changing, he's growing, he's changing every single day. So it's really great to see him, grow and everything. And so we're on the road all the time. I have 2 kids. I just coach soccer, and my kids play hockey, so like we're going to New Hampshire this weekend. We have to go to Jay
Really?
Peak next weekend. So we're all over the place, and so he's like adapting. He's like learning how to be
Yeah.
a travel baby when he's adapting to all these different
Boy, it
climates.
sounds like you got a busy, I guess, hopefully, presumably you know what you're getting into here,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, yeah.
That's right. And I noted in the messenger story, you have a marketing firm too, or is that?
Yeah, I have like a marketing firm set up. I've been involved in like political campaigns in the past. Last year I ran John Rogers'
Right.
lieutenant governor campaign.
Yeah.
And so that I had that set up from a little bit ago, and I used that LLC to run that business. So it's been successful on it, but it's not anything that I keep doing. It's not. I just have the LLC for doing those things, but now that I have this job, it probably will be something I won't have any time to do. But yeah, I have a marketing. I've worked at Handy's in the marketing department. I've been at Handy's for like on and off for like 15 or 13 years.
Huh.
So
Are you still there sometime?
I'm not at Handy's anymore.
Not- okay.
And it was a great company to work for. Great family to work for.
Yeah.
Just with this capacity, it makes sense for me to move on.
Understandable. Do you still have any official connection with the lieutenant governor in terms of as a consultant or whatever for him?
No, nothing professionally. We have, when we're in session, we meet regularly with him and the administration just to discuss priorities and kind of just what's going on. So we're all in the loop with everything.
You'd expect him to run for re-election? Well, I guess to make it down to the governor. You thinking Governor Scott will run at least one more time?
I
Suspect you might be hoping that, but are you thinking that?
I'm thinking he will. He obviously has not said any kind
And he
of.
typically won't say
Typically
anything
won't
until
tip
after
his
the
hat.
next legislative session.
And people will be like, well, but really he won't let it. He doesn't. He's very tight-lipped about that. His administration is very tight-lipped when they announce that. Basically when they announce it. And
Yeah.
but I think with the education bill and the education reform and some of the comments that I've seen from him in the last year regarding the education reform,
Yeah.
I don't foresee him. I can see him running again until this at least this session to make sure that we get through.
Yeah, and you're hearing a lot of talk about Mike Pichak, the state treasurer, who certainly gets around. And
Yep.
And I was hearing he might run regardless of Scott's decision. I'm hearing more recently, and you're way ahead of me, that he probably would not challenge Scott if Scott runs for re-election. And in a way, I don't know. I kind of don't know why he would.
I think it'd be a tough, even with some of the things I think that the governor has maybe upset some people with.
And he's certainly not happy about the education situation right now.
Correct, and I think just his popularity in the state and his ability to kind of find middle ground on a lot of the issues
Yeah.
that not everyone will agree with, but then a majority will.
Yeah.
He has that ability. It's made him the most popular governor in the country. It's really hard to put your name up against him.
Yeah, so we'll see. Jonathan, you'd like to see the governor hang in there longer, or any feelings about the governor?
No, I think he should stay,
Yeah,
definitely.
and you are, as I think about it, you're chair of the St. Albans Town Republican
I
Committee,
am,
correct?
Yes, correct.
Interesting.
Yep.
The town, starting budget work at this point, is that underway?
Yep, we're just waiting for the city to get back to us on, the police budget.
Okay.
And then we're pretty much finalized. We're gonna talk about it at our next meeting.
Yeah, that was, of course, a big issue in the current budget, with the police budget going up, with
Yeah,
officers getting some more pay.
It's over $2.5 million, the police
Right.
budget. That's
Is that
almost
right?
half of our budget. Like, it's a
Wow.
good portion of it.
Is
Like,
that
we
right?
really need to do our due diligence and make sure we're getting, for every dollar we're spending, we're getting,
Yeah.
police services that we're buying, and make sure we're not paying for things we shouldn't be paying for.
How do you feel? Are you comfortable with city PD and the
Yeah.
coverage of the town?
Yeah, I think so. We had a few last month. We had some people come down complaining about speeding, and speeding is
Boy, it
it's
sounds
all
like that
it's all
issue
over the
never goes
county.
away.
It never goes away.
Yeah.
So at the last meeting, we decided as a board to buy 5 of those speed limit signs that
Yeah.
they flash the
Yeah.
speed at you.
Yeah.
2 of them are going to be stationary, located somewhere throughout the town. The other 2 are going to be movable. So we can place them here for a month and then move them over here. Like
Sounds-
you know,
sounds
what I
like
mean?
a good-
Yeah,
good
well,
thing.
it's something, right? It's probably it might curb a little bit of it, but
Yeah.
at least we're doing something about it.
Yeah.
And like I say, reach out to Casey, call him, say, hey, there's people speeding, record the time, give
Yeah.
it all to Casey, and he can forward over to the chief. Because if you don't call and tell us,
Yeah.
or tell the town manager, that we don't know. And so if we pass the word along, they will, I guarantee they'll either set up timers, or they
Yeah.
got way to check speed where
Yeah.
they don't have to have cops present. There's some
Yeah.
system the
Huh.
chief was telling us
Yeah.
about. And so they can do that, they can put patrols out, they'll address it, but they need to know exactly where it's happening, that's all.
Yeah. Casey, what's your thought? I realize just a few days in as town manager, but you know the terrain pretty well. St. Albans Police Department, I think these guys are doing I guess they're fully staffed, or at least pretty close to it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, they're doing a lot better than a lot of departments in the state then.
Yeah, I think they've done a great job. I'm
Yeah.
a town resident,
Yeah.
and I drive on one of the roads every day, or one of the streets every day that there are complaints coming from.
Really?
And I can tell. It's I drive on Fairfax Street,
Wow.
and it's pretty narrow. It's hard
35 mile an hour.
35
speed
mile an
limit.
hour. Not everyone goes 35 miles an hour down it. Sometimes you look down and you're like, oh, I'm going 40, or you got to slow down.
Yeah.
And you really get mindful. I know some of the people on that street. It's that's just one of a few places that we've had complaints. But I understand. I think the police are doing a great job.
Yeah.
I feel safe in my home. I feel safe in the area that I live. And so I think they are doing a great job.
Yeah. Any things out of the ordinary coming up at March town meeting, Jonathan, in terms of ballot items or issues?
I don't think, as of right now, I don't
Yeah.
think we're gonna have any ballot items.
Yeah.
I don't foresee any. But, I don't know, maybe next year we might,
Yeah.
but as for right now, we're not far enough ahead on a couple projects that we wanna do.
Yeah.
But we're still, like stormwater doesn't go on the ballot, but we started Clyde Allen. We're working on engineering for the east and west basin, which is kinda the east side of, by the Sash and kinda over towards Sam Smith's properties and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Try to get that one, cause we gotta stop some of the water going into Tanglewood, so that's our next focus.
Yeah.
Kevin's doing their DPW director doing a great job
Yeah.
of getting that stormwater, getting all these ponds together. He's doing a great job.
Well, it sounds like one of the biggest issues in St. Albans town these days, the stormwater issues.
Yeah, it's just, it's fairly new to us. I think Tanglewood was our first big project,
Yeah.
and we're about 99% done. We gotta plant some shrubs and put some gates, and other than that, it's done.
Yeah. Casey, again, a few days into your new job, but you know St. Albans town obviously very well. Looking at the town, what strikes you as kind of the biggest issues, challenges you're gonna be dealing with?
Well, you're just talking about the stormwater. I think that's one of the
Yeah.
biggest ones that we're focusing on. And I've been trying to meet with our public works director, and we've talked to him all week. And he understands this is a priority we have to do for the state. And but it kind of does handcuff us on like other projects we want to move along. I know we've talked in the past. I was on the planning commission, and we've had the bike and ped path and all
Yeah.
those those plans put out before us. But when you're focusing on you know, right now we gotta focus on stormwater.
Yeah.
And, you know, those kind of things you kind of have to wait on, and it kind of is a bummer, because you have to do those down, you have to put your priorities in.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of good opportunity with recreation in St. Albans. I think recreation, other things that I would like to see is, you know, more business growth, responsible growth in housing.
Yeah.
I think utilizing the new CHIPS program that was passed last year.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see any kind of new things in the legislature this year that will allow towns to utilize state funds for getting projects in housing up and running. We have a few growth centers that could use that attention, and just looking at that, because we are in a really good spot in St. Albans. We've seen growth of about 2,000 residents over the last 20 years. We're going to see another.
St. Albans Town, of course, for the record, the largest municipality now in Franklin County.
Officially
Just
now.
got past the city.
Yeah, and so with that, it's a lot of responsibility to make sure that we grow responsibly. But we also are in a really good position. We got great schools. We have great resources around here with, you know, you can go up over the hill into Fairfield and go to 45 minutes from a ski. You're right next to the lake. So we have, and with the new connector into Montreal, we have the ability to, you know, jump on the interstate and get to Montreal in less than an hour, and then bring in all that commerce here. And so we want to make, like St. Albans is in a very good growth potential. We're in a very good position for the next 50 years to see growth. The rest of the state hasn't seen this. We are very fortunate that, you know, the rest of the state has lost population. They've lost representatives around the state. We've had to make some places bigger. You know, our legislative districts had to get bigger, or they've actually lost senators or representatives. And we're seeing that growth. And you know, we're only 25 minutes from Burlington. That helps out a lot. We have the interstate and 2 exits. That does help.
Yeah. Speaking of, just made me think of something, is with Franklin County's, again, growing, is Franklin County deserving one of these years of another House member at least? I realize the Senate districts changed a bit, but I hadn't thought about that for a while.
You probably could. We technically did get a new senator last year.
Yeah.
With Fairfax in that Senate
Which is
seat.
now in, Chittenden North
Chittenden
Senate
North,
District.
which Senator Matos has that seat, and
Right.
and
Probably not good news for the Franklin County folks in Fairfax, who are probably not going to never see a Fairfax resident elected, but anyway.
Yeah, well, you know, stranger things have happened, but so yeah, we will see. You know, in 5 years when they redistrict again, we'll see where we're at, or when, I guess it would be 7 years, because 5 years would we get the census, and 7 will redistrict. But we will see. You will definitely see more representatives up here, because we will see that growth in the next 7 years.
I guess we're not going to be hearing about Vermont being one of the states getting into the gerrymandering issue like you hear about California and Texas. I'd say it's pretty safe to say we're never, I would say, inconceivable we're going to get past one U.S. House member, unless you see Vermont's population doubling or something.
The only thing that we would see, we do see some kind of gerrymandering districts, and the only reason we see that in Vermont is because of our sparse
I was
population.
just talking about the congressional.
And the congressional, yeah, we won't see that.
That's
but,
not going to change.
as a
I'm
state,
sure in the state, I'm sure that does happen.
and it has to, just because you're like, well, we have 7 towns over here with 400 people.
Yeah.
We need to put them in with a population that it's like 4,500 or something like that. That 42 to 4,500 is the standard size
Well,
for a
you
house
mentioned
district.
Chittenden North, Franklin County losing Fairfax to Chittenden North. Was that kind of an easy? Was there a lot of debate about what town needed to go into Chittenden for that? Or were you involved in that much?
No, because the Senate district starts in the Senate.
So they deal
do
with that.
Yeah, so we were looking at in the House, kind of where I focused on was what was going to happen to St. Albans.
Sure.
And we actually came up with a really good solution, because it was Mike McCarthy at the time, myself, and Lynn Dickinson. We were
Right.
talking. We were like, why don't we have one city rep,
Yeah,
one town rep,
yeah.
and then we'll do one that does both.
And you pick up in the city, what, wards 4, 5, and 6? And a
Just
hunk of
5 and 6.
Sorry, 5 and 6, and a hunk of the kind of southeastern part of the town?
It's easy to see if you go Route 7
Yeah.
in the interstate south of the city line.
Yeah.
And that worked out well. we just had to redistrict, the city of St. Albans hadn't redistricted their ward since 1968.
Right, wow, is that
So
right?
they've redistricted their district, so that looks a little different.
Right.
And so there was parts of like, I forget what it was, Lincoln Avenue and that went to Ward 4.
Oh, yeah, some changes.
Just had to, based on population. And that's literally just clicks of a mouse on what's the population if I click this street, what's the
Really?
population if I click this street.
Interesting.
And so that's, it just has to be based on population.
So you got wards 5 and 6, and
5
then
and
the
6.
rest in the town, and Lynn's got all, I mean,
Oh, and also included in that, I forgot, we have,
Yeah.
in the Franklin 8 district that I represent is Hill Farm Estates as well.
oh, is that right? Interesting. Challenges, Jonathan, do you think this year, 2025, just less than a month and a half left, has been a pretty good year for the town?
I think so, you know,
Yeah.
the transition from an outgoing town manager to the interim, there's always,
Big issue.
Corey's been doing a fine job
And we
at
should note that Corey Parent's interim town manager, and you'll work with him at least into January 1st anyway?
January 1st at least, yeah.
You know Corey pretty well, Casey?
I was his baseball coach in 2004 when he was
you
in
go
like
back
7th or 8th grade.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so I've
Interesting.
known him for a while, so we've worked together. And he's been very helpful in his
Huh.
limited capacity at the town.
Yeah.
His knowledge of this, not only just government in itself, but the town of St. Albans. He's worked with the last 2 town managers, and he's worked with the select board really well. So he's been just really helpful, what to say, how to say it,
Yeah.
where to find information, you know, things like that. And so we're gonna be working every week a little bit more in depth and in depth. So
Yeah.
he's been a really good asset.
It sounds like the transition period's gone pretty well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, some of the projects fell to the wayside, and I think Corey's trying to stir them up and get those off the ground again.
Yeah,
You know, in such a capacity, because he's only there a few days a week, but,
Yeah.
you know, we're gonna ask Casey to, let's move forward on these things. Let's get 5-6 projects in front of us and decide
Yeah.
which ones we're doing, which ones we're not every year. You know, we haven't really done much in the town. I mean, we've done stuff, but like, we have a whole list in our capital improvement plan that
Is that right?
we haven't addressed for a while, you know,
Huh.
that need, you know, either ARPA funds, I think we're at like 2 million or so, 2.5 million right
boy, I
there.
hadn't even
sitting
thought
there
about
right
them
now.
for a while, really.
Not ARPA funds, sorry, LOT funds.
LOT funds, sorry.
ARPA funds, we put the rest in.
Yeah.
Are they,
FCIDC.
is that gone, or ARPA funds?
We got like $300,000, we,
Huh.
set in a fund with, FCIDC to do economic development, whatever, you know, there's plenty of stuff to be done with it,
Yeah.
you know. There's land in the industrial park, there's land on Brigham Road next to our DPW that can be developed, so. Those are the type of projects, like, we're sitting on 70 acres on Brigham Road, but I think maybe only
Really?
10 are developable because of the wetlands. But you can
yeah.
also sell wetlands and change land, and so, you know, so we're just sitting on the land, like, let's develop it, let's grow the grand list, like, that's the whole idea of it. 'Cause especially when you bring on more houses, you know, the tax rate is, you know what I mean, houses don't generate a lot of
Yeah.
grand lists as much as businesses, you know, businesses is where it keeps your tax rate flat. So
There was a housing, I didn't pay much attention to this, but a controversial, pretty big housing project in the town a while back that didn't fare too well, I think.
Yeah, off Parsons Ave.
Off Parsons
Lane,
Ave?
Yeah.
Parsons Lane.
Is that a dead project?
Yeah,
or-
the developer pulled out of that.
How many, we're talking a lot of,
80.
really?
It was 80, and then,
Wow.
I don't know the whole details, but the review board
Or
said
could they have pulled,
56.
and this would have been they could have pulled that off, just with septic?
No, it was tied into city
Oh,
sewer
it was
up
tied,
there.
okay,
Yeah,
so
they
they
had
had
municipal water and
obviously
sewer.
city sewer.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, somebody wants to do something with their land and it's not really impacting, I don't know. This is why we're in the housing crisis we're in.
Boy,
Because you can get
that-
people that can install a project. Like, I don't know, there's violations all over the town. You look and, you know, this guy's got 10 boats in his backyard and you see it from the road, but like, it's just like, if he wants to live like that, let him live, like, it's not affecting
Yeah.
me. Like, I don't know, you gotta draw a line somewhere, but I think that's kind of why we're limited on housing, is because of that stuff. Like, anybody, or not anybody, but a lot of people can appeal projects, just tied up in court for years, and then
Yeah.
that costs the developer money, so they're like, okay, we're gonna go some other state, you know?
Yeah.
That's what it amounts to.
But
I mean,
that
same thing with
housing-
business. It's the same thing with business trying to get somebody in an industrial park. It's just,
Yeah.
you know, you go to Act 250, they're 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, these guys are working off loans off banks. Like, that's thousands and thousands of dollars just waiting for an Act 250 permit,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, Casey, seems like that issue comes up literally every year in the legislature. Have you feel like you made some progress on that, or?
We've made some progress, not all the progress we wanted. He mentioned Act 250.
Yeah.
Last year, we specifically weren't allowed to even talk about Act 250 when we were talking housing, and that really irked some of us in the.
You weren't allowed to talk about it?
Yeah, it basically wasn't, they didn't want it involved or included in any of the language.
Really?
So that it wasn't germane, so that we couldn't add amendments to effectively change Act 250.
Yeah.
There's a lot of environmentalists in the House that like to stall these projects, you know, they don't want, a lot of people don't want to see growth. But when we're talking about places where we should have responsible growth, we should be able to make these decisions as a town and build, because it's gonna hurt. We have a few things in the state that's affected us the last couple of years. This 30 by 30 and 50 by 50 is where 30% of our land has to be conserved by 2030, and then by 2050, 50% of our land has to be conserved. Well, when you start doing that, you're looking at winners and losers, and you're telling people where they can and can't develop, and it really affects, you know, property values. It affects where you can and can't build, and it's really unfortunate. We're in the Champlain Valley. We're in this 89 corridor that we can grow, we can have this, but there are places in the state that they can't. Like, you go to the Northeast Kingdom, they're not allowed to build. You even go east of St. Albans, you can't build without proper water and wastewater structures that are really expensive. That's why the chip thing's gonna be really helpful, I think, in some of these communities. But we still need, we need to, as a state, look, like, these are 50-plus-year-old regulations, and they did their part, but how can we adapt them for the 21st century for what our need is? Because we know, if you talk to anyone that's involved in state, local, or, you know, federal government, like, we're not an anomaly in the country. We need growth, and everyone needs growth to sustain just their economy. And so we need to be able to work on these regulations to make it so that we can see good growth. And the town's done a really good job. We've seen really good housing projects go up, and I live in one of those developments. I live on Clyde Island Drive, and like, these are good single-family homes. When I talk about, like, what does the 21st century look like, probably not building houses like we have with, like, 2,500 square feet, 2-car garage, and 2 or 3 acres. You know, we need to get back to where we were when you have ranch-style houses, quarter acre, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, smaller homes like that, because it's really expensive to build. Because that's the other part, is it's expensive to build, the land's expensive, labor's expensive to get all that out. So we need to be really strategic as a state on how we can adapt to what the 21st century needs of Vermont is.
Well, you make me think a question, maybe a tough question, but affordability. Republicans did very well with the affordability issue in the last election. Well, when and I'm a glass half empty guy, but boy, good luck. It just seems like to make Vermont more affordable, it sounds like your best case scenario is to try to make it not too more expensive. Am I being naive, or can you picture Vermont becoming more affordable?
Well, the problem is, and I'm going to credit Senator Scott Beck last year who said this, we don't have a revenue problem. The state of Vermont makes a lot of money. The state of Vermont has a spending problem. And
It's
so,
like I hear that from Senator Brock every time I talk to Randy,
and so
probably a lot of other folks.
And so we've raised a lot of revenue. We're not like the federal government. Whatever we raise, we spend.
Yeah.
And we've been very fortunate in the last 10 years that we've seen growth. Every year I'm in there, we see a
Really?
surplus.
Is that right?
That's not going to that's not going to continue to happen. I'm really anticipating. So we have a December 1st letter coming from the governor coming out in 10 days or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's going to outline what the projection for fiscal year 27 is going to look like as a state.
Yeah.
We know, like, even if you just look at our transportation budget, we spend $900 million on transportation.
Yeah.
We have so many the way that we structure the tax structure to build our roads and maintain all this, we get a third, I believe it's a third of our revenue comes from the federal government.
Yeah.
And that's the whole revenue, the 9 billion we spend, 3 billion comes from the federal government.
Is that right? About a third of the state budget?
Third of the state budget is federal,
Wow.
which is Medicaid and transportation and a lot of things like that. But
Yeah.
well, you just take a look at the transportation fund. They're at 900 million. It's probably going to go up to $1 billion, but those revenues aren't as good because we have, and that's a good thing that we have fuel efficient cars. We have people working from home.
Obviously, less gas tax.
Less gas
revenue.
tax, less revenue.
Sure.
So we need to figure out how do we replace bridges? How do we replace roads if we don't have those? And that's
Is that what I'm hearing? I'm hearing the toll word in the last week or two.
So, yeah.
Possibility, is the
I've heard that.
legislature really thinking about tolls?
So we cannot put tolls on our interstates in Vermont.
Right.
Those have to be private roads. We
Okay.
could put them on like Route 7 or places like that. I don't foresee that happening. That'd be really
Has
interesting.
that come up since you've been in the legislature?
No, I heard a rumor. Actually, this is the second time this week I've heard it,
Really?
but that's the only 2 times I've heard it.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So you don't see, that would seem to be very unlikely to you?
I would think so. I don't want to go on the record and be wrong with that, but that seems like I don't because like the roads that we see tolls in New Hampshire when we're going to like Boston.
Yeah.
Those are I believe those are like privately owned roads that we'd lose federal funding, and we rely heavily on that federal funding.
Boy, tolls, and interesting.
Yeah.
So electric vehicles, EVs, has there been some thought to anybody with an EV would have to pay some kind of a tax?
I
for-
believe that there is some stuff that's in there that
Yeah.
did pass in the DMV bill, so there'll be a tax on those. I don't know how like significant. I
And
forget
of
how
course,
significant
federal
they are.
government seems, I think they haven't, the federal gasoline tax hasn't been raised since, I think, 1993 or something?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that does affect us. And when we're like, we talk about affordability, it's hard to
Yeah.
be like, oh, well, we need to raise revenue, and we don't want to raise revenue on, working Vermonters. A lot of
Yeah.
people, especially in our area, we don't, a lot of people commute and they go south. They go
Sure.
south to the Chittenden County area for work.
Yeah,
And so like that would be taxing our own people to help a county that's really doing well, because they wouldn't have
Wow.
to pay as much.
and I guess I gotta get back into Act 73 a bit, but Governor not happy, it just sounds like the big education reform, and doesn't sound like it's off to a good start. Again, the redistricting task force, 119 school districts now, and the mission, the hope was that they would get that down to maybe 5 to 10 or so, and
Yeah, the governor proposed 5, we were okay 10 to 12.
yeah,
And we think that was achievable. I think that Senator Beck and former Castleton President Walk, they put together a map based on technical centers. I feel like they didn't really give consideration to that one, and they kind of breezed over it, and they presented a map of voluntary over 10 years. And I understand there's a lot of uncertainty, and I've talked with a lot of people in the education field. I understand where they're coming from. We're seeing great success in Franklin County. We have great schools, and they're working efficiently.
Yeah.
But the problem is we're seeing such an increase in the cost of education. Where can we see the savings, and the map that they really focused on in the last meeting that made had a lot of media attention? It
Yeah.
adds another layer of bureaucracy.
yeah.
And it just keeps adding more layers of bureaucracy. And the problem is we need to focus more on like our teacher structure and paying the teachers more instead of like the administration up top, and having more levels of red tape that they have to go through.
Yeah.
And so I think that people don't realize that in the last 2 years, we spent over like $200 million to buy down property tax rates. And we still saw a 13% increase and a 1% increase.
I
in
mean,
people-
last year, what he did, I think he threw in, 77 million or so?
77 million, but that also, so if we put 77 million in,
Yeah.
then this year we still have to cover that 77 million. So there were 77 million on top of,
Wow.
and then we put 120 or something million in
And
before, so.
could you do that again? I'm hearing legislators saying, boy, maybe one more time if we're lucky, but we can't keep doing that.
Well, the problem is with $77 million, how many homes could we build? How many roads could we work on? With the lack of gas tax, we're less miles of roads every year, less
Yeah.
miles and miles. We could be investing, like 77 million, we could be investing in new school buildings that we know are way out of date.
Yeah.
Where 77 million could be going into our healthcare system. 77 million could be going a lot lot of great places, but we're doing it to buy down rates so that people don't see their property taxes jump to the number that it's supposed to be. So that's why it's really important, I think, to pass a bill that's going to improve how we fund our education system. And it might not be the one that we have in front of us, but we really need to like look at, because we understand healthcare's through the roof. Labor is more expensive. But we need to figure out how to work together and come up with a solution.
I hope you're a lot more optimistic than I am. It just these issues just seem like they're just overwhelming,
Yeah.
overwhelmingly difficult to deal with.
Yeah, and it can get frustrating, and
So on the education, are you a bit frustrated by kind of the start to the big kind of reforms here, or?
I am.
Yeah.
But we still have a lot to do, because I was frustrated last year because we kind of kicked the can down the road to this year.
Yeah.
And we could have built maps last year and not given it to a
And
third party.
that's something you've got to, that's a plan for the upcoming session? Is that something?
Yeah, so in Act 73, we have
Yeah.
to have, they have to present us with no more than 3 maps.
Yeah,
And we have to, by end of January, we have to vote on one, because then we start working on the governance, because we have to build governance. Once we have the map,
Yeah.
we have to have equal representation.
Wow.
We have to know, like, if you have debt services, who's in charge of the debt service? Any assets, what's gonna happen with those assets, when you start consolidating stuff like those, so.
and you're right in the thick of this as a House Education Committee member, obviously.
Yeah, we spent many hours last year just going through all this stuff, and we worked together. We came up with a compromise, which I was happy. I was really happy that when it went to a conference committee, nobody at the table was really happy,
Yeah,
and so that means that
that's
they.
often a good sign, I
Yeah,
guess.
it's a good sign, because they're like,
Yeah.
nah, they're still shaking hands. So
Yeah.
I didn't get everything I wanted. That means you didn't get everything you wanted, and the governor didn't get everything he wanted. And so I think a compromise is good.
What do you think, Jonathan? Do you think these huge issues can be resolved? You got optimism about
But
this?
I do. My wife sits on the Maple Run School District Board.
Okay.
and
Oh,
so-
really? So you know-
And so
you know
I
what's
get
going
parts
on.
and pieces of it a little bit. And it still interests me, only 2 people attended their first budget meeting.
Is that right, 2
It's kind of
people?
like the town's budget meeting. I think we had 2 or 3, no, actually, I think it was 0.
You bring me back to my full-time reporting days when I covered a million of those meetings when, a couple people would
You
might
know,
show up.
and I'll be the first one to
tough.
tell you, I hate paying my tax bill. I think
Sure.
it's outrageous. But like,
What are you gonna do?
apparently not the majority thinks it's outrageous, because their budget passes every year. The school Maple
Although
Run
Maple
passes.
Run was a lot close, the last vote was.
It was closer
closer.
than normal, but still,
But
it
it's
still
passed every year.
passed. Like,
Yeah.
some budgets in the state didn't pass last year.
Sure.
There was
Well,
quite a few, yeah.
Many
But
didn't pass.
I think, and I think I heard Jack McCarthy say this at a school board meeting. He said, well, 85 or something like that, don't quote me to it, but
Yeah.
something along that lane's like, it's required by the state, so we have to fund it. They're telling, it's mandated by the state, so they have no choice. That's automatically 85% of their budget has to be there.
And it goes from 85 and up. So like,
Really?
when you're at a school board, they might be only responsible for about 10% of the budget that they
Right.
can. And then
Sure.
sometimes you're like, well, with that 15%, should we get a new roof? Should we, update the fire system in it, or the furnace or something? And that's where we get. And then so we've seen those types of decisions have to be made over the last 30 years. Since 2007, the state's put a moratorium on state helping with construction aid.
Right.
And so now we have like $5 billion worth of deferred maintenance
That
in
was
schools.
$5 billion.
Billion with a B.
More
that-
than half of the state budget.
And so
Is that right? $5 billion?
And so when the school board's sitting there, they're like, we can either, work on, maybe get a new program or upgrade a facility. They say, well, let's see what we can do, what's the best option for them, and they're kind of handcuffed. So that needs, I think, the whole structure of it. And we are, like, the state of Vermont was very progressive in 1777, and we included this in our constitution. So we are required by our constitution to educate every single student in the state of Vermont.
Does not every state have that?
No.
Is that right?
Yeah, we
Oh,
were
really?
the first to put it in.
Really?
I don't know how many have this in their actual constitution.
right?
They might have it in their laws. We laid it out in in
Really?
our first constitution. And so we have to follow that. And then The Brigham decision kind of really handcuffed us on, if everyone equally has to
Yeah.
contribute. So if like St. Albans builds a brand new school, Brattleboro is going to help pay for it.
Yeah.
That's just how we have it set up now.
Well, one of the papers, still a good paper in this world of journalism going away, but I get the Chronicle. I've got a half ownership of a camp in the far reaches of the Northeast Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
But folks up there, nothing I have to tell you, folks like Leanne Harple and
Yep.
new rep, but I know she voted against that. I think she kind of went both ways and couldn't, but just reading stories in the Chronicle every week, folks up there, just a very rural, obviously part of the state, and just a concern that they would have to consolidate, have a few schools with just kids on buses. I mean, I appreciate the concern, I'm sure you do.
Yeah, she sits right next to me in
Oh,
in
is that
House
right?
Ed, and she's a great legislator, and she's
And
really
she's a teacher too, I
she's a
believe.
teacher. I forget one of the schools up there
Yeah.
in Barton. What's I
Yeah,
forget what it's
somewhere
called.
up there.
But she's she's really worried about the rural side,
I bet.
and we actually put language in that kids can't be on a bus for X amount of time. I think there was
Yeah.
some kind of language on there, but
And
there's gonna-
minimum class sizes.
minimum class size. There will be outliers no matter what we do, because
Yeah.
there are some places in Vermont
Sure.
that you just,
What are you gonna do?
because what's the old saying? You can't get there from here.
Yeah.
And there's just, Vermont has a bunch of those places. Where this makes sense is where you have, I mean, I'll just say right now, Montpelier has two schools that are a couple miles apart.
Is that right?
One of
Couple
them's
miles
built in
apart?
one of them's built in a floodplain.
Wow.
You have schools like Burlington and South Burlington. Like, nobody talks about Burlington and South Burlington. They're sharing sports teams.
Yeah.
They both, like, Burlington's putting a $400 million school
Is that
in.
what that is, 400 mil?
And you've got South Burlington wants to do the same.
Right.
And so why are we not talking about consolidation in those areas as well? Franklin County, we have.
So
we
it
have-
sounds like Franklin County, you feel, is in pretty good shape
We're,
with this?
we're in really good shape. I
Yeah.
think we have great schools up here. I can't speak for the others. I've gone to pretty much every school in Franklin County, but,
Yeah.
um,
I mean, like, what, 5 high schools?
5 high
Richford,
schools.
Enosburg, do you think those two high schools, not too far apart, what,
They're
10
not.
miles apart?
And they're actually very fortunate up there too, because they have a tech center up there as well.
Right.
And I think tech centers is something we really need to focus. That's why I really like
Yeah.
that map with the tech centers, because
Huh.
it's like the future.
Yeah.
Getting kids involved in trades. We even put in a state statute where kids have to get introduced, I believe, by 5th grade. They
Huh.
have to start
Oh.
getting introduced to tech centers.
Sounds like a great idea to me.
And it just gets kids interested, like typical schooling might not be for everyone. And you find what you're passionate about in those. And we really need skilled laborers that can, they can make really good money in these tech programs. And they're not just like what we used to see, what they
Yeah.
call it, industrial arts back in the 70s.
Yeah.
And now it's like technical, there's the computers into everything. And there's a lot to learn on everything. And I kind of wish I could have gotten into that when I was in school.
Yeah.
And so,
Jonathan, you're good. It sounds like you have a very solid business, plumbing, heating. Do you see more interest in younger people maybe getting into a business like that? Are you picking up any more interest? I mean, geez, certainly, good paying jobs and stuff in the trades. And whenever I talk to Tim Smith, there's always talk about get more kids, not everybody's going to want to go to college or, do you see any more interest in younger people?
Oh, there definitely is. So I
I'm
sit on
glad to hear
the, I
that.
sit on the advisory board for the building trades at the
Oh, is that right?
program at Tech Center. And,
Yeah.
we're talking about the space again. Like when I attended that program in 99 and 98,
Huh.
we were talking about space. Well, let's start building modular homes. Well, the space is too small, so now there's an egress issue on the second floor, and so we're trying to come up with a plan, and some of the admin's like, well, due to the state education stuff, everything's kind of on hold. I'm like, well, you just don't put business on hold. Like, you
Yeah.
gotta keep moving forward with that. So I'm gonna stay reserved in my comments on that admin, but sometimes it just infuriates me. I'm like, well, just because the legislature's working on stuff doesn't mean we don't keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same, like, some of that needs to be restructured, like advisory councils, because we meet in the fall and we meet in the spring, and then we say, oh, we'll do it in the fall, oh, we'll do it in the spring. Like, we're talking about the same issues when I attended the program. Like, the space needs to be bigger. Those are the future people that are gonna be building the homes in the area.
Yeah.
Like,
And-
let's face it, and I think they're down to 2 instructors now. They got some great program. They got
Really?
geometry and construction up there. It kind of gets the kids' feet wet, but
Yeah.
it gives them math skills to say, "Oh yeah, let's move forward. I'm interested in this stuff."
Yeah.
It's a great program, but I think it needs to have more support because let's face it, helping the trades isn't there's not a line like there used to be back in 1999 and 2000 when I started. You got an interview. There's 20 people waiting to be interviewed for an apprenticeship spot. Now you'd be lucky if you get 1 or 2 candidates. You're going to even interview for an apprenticeship position.
And I went up to, is it Green Mountain Technical Center or Career Center? Lamoille High
Oh,
School.
yeah.
Behind their high school, they have the space they built. It's like an airport hangar.
Really?
It's huge. They build houses in there, and they
Is that
have a
right?
whole HVAC system,
Really?
like a whole like the back part. They build the houses, and then they go in. They work in the system, so they have all their electrical, all their HVAC that the kids are working on.
Wow.
So then what they do is they go to the community and they say, if you want to buy a house, you have to provide the land and set up your utilities and the foundation. And then the school will bring the building that they have built in pieces over to the house and put it together.
Is that right?
And it's a great program, and they're training kids, and that should be a standard across the state. I don't know why, and for our issue is we have BFA and we have the tech center
Yeah,
in the middle of our downtown,
yeah.
and they just don't have space, and they've never had space. I mean, when you were there, they had basically a shed where the building trades is now.
Yeah, it was a little bigger
Little
than
bit
that,
bigger.
but not
Yeah.
much. It's a little bigger, but it's a sore subject for me, just because I can see the potential there.
Yeah.
I can see what can happen, and then administration it just falls on deaf ears.
Yeah,
And I think it's really necessary as the growth's gonna continue in Franklin County. And we got all kinds of support. We got all different contracts from Chittenden County that come up and attend our meetings that wanna start. They actually, I think it was PC Construction, I think funded the VCA, Vermont Construction Academy in Winooski. And one of the instructors from the tech center went down there to run the thing. And that's bringing kids from all over that want to get into the trades, and it's a really great program, and I'm glad Ross stepped up to take charge on that, to lead that program. But it's something around here, so I actually got asked if I wanted to teach up there, one of the programs.
Really?
And I said, well, I would, but it's the pay thing.
Yeah.
Like, they pay half the salary, I don't know if it's quite half, but say if you had 20 years experience,
yeah,
say if I was a 20-year plumber, I'd only get my pay based on 10 years.
really.
But the math teacher over in the building gets her full 20 years if she had 20
Yeah.
years. Like, why doesn't somebody that's a licensed professional get the same amount of time? That's the other thing. Trying to find instructors that can take the cut and pay. And then they'll say, well, you can find side work in the summer. Well, yeah, but everybody in the big building don't have to. Why should I? So it's not very equitable.
They had issues finding automotive to keep that program alive just because of that issue
Yeah,
right
that
there.
issue.
It's they just can't afford to pay the teachers, because then the instructors, because then you come into a dispute on contracts. As why are they making more? Why are they making, and so it's not in the right mind for the students. I understand, but we do need that, because those kids that will graduate,
Yeah.
we're probably more likely to stay around here, and that's
Good
what we need.
point.
We need more people to stay in Vermont, and we need them to build houses and grow families here, and so we can sustain our students in school.
Have you got a percentage per chance on the number of high school graduates in Vermont? What percentage of them stay in Vermont?
We've seen these. I can't off the top of my head remember.
But I'm sure
I
we're
do-
obviously losing a lot of those
I
kids.
do know that students that typically use our state colleges, or what are they now? Our state university system.
Vermont State
University. Students that utilize those are more like 85% or something like that. It's a crazy high number. Stay in Vermont
Likely to
after
stay.
they're likely to stay. That's why I think those programs are so vital to our state, especially our rural areas where some of those schools are.
Back to some other issues, Jonathan. St. Albans Town Fire Department headquarters, is that a issue that'll be getting attention next year? Is that a front burner or not really front burner now? I mean, a new headquarters?
If it's not in the front, it's
Should be
right
pretty
there.
close.
It's pretty close. It's
Yeah.
coming fast, and I think, well, just because we're in transitions with town managers and
Yeah.
stuff, but that's gonna be on Casey's priority list to
Yeah.
figure out a definite location where that needs to be.
So again, there's still doubt, is it possible, could you have enough land at the current site, or? is
Yeah,
that-
yeah, we talked with, I think the Cemetery Commission owns that, and we talked with them about buying some property.
Yeah.
And I think they're on board with that after our last conversation. but-
Ideally, I assume you'd like to stay on the same
I
site?
think
or-
so, but we really need municipal water and sewer to the building.
Right.
We can't be on, so
Wow.
whether or not, based on some of the projects that are happening, if we're gonna be able to get water and sewer down through there, or
Yeah.
do we pick another location in town? I think we need to really look at, like, where's our growth gonna be, you know, if we are gonna get water and sewer down to the Bay Area, then
Yeah.
maybe that's a good spot. If not, maybe
Yeah.
it's not a good spot. I don't know, there's a lot of moving parts that need to come to play, and
Yeah.
I don't think we should just put a building there, cause our old one is there, and then 10 years down the road,
Yeah.
well, it should have been up here, you know,
Yeah.
and there's some other moving parts that might be happening where we might be acquiring another building, so it might go with that building. We don't know that yet,
Hmm. Yeah.
but that's kind of what we're looking at.
How, isn't municipal water and sewer pretty close now to the town fire department, or not?
It's just right about Brigham Road. I know there's water at Brigham Road, but sewer
Yeah.
is all pumped up to Adams Street, which is just before the VFW.
Right. Well, at some point, would you think water sewer would make it to the bay at some point down in the future? You think that'll happen
Yeah, it
at
should
some
have happened
point?
last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Are you,
some
I
some
mean,
of
are
the,
you
some of
pushing,
the.
are
Well,
you
yeah,
pushing
because,
for that?
yeah, because what's happening is we're kind of on hold with the Stonehouse, right?
Yeah.
Because do we want to spend $1 million on a roof? No.
Right.
Like, that doesn't make much sense. Like, I'd like to have it look like the Greg Brown Lodge down
Yeah.
there, and have the bands out by the lake, so you can watch the lake, listen to the
And
band.
you just have incredible restrictions with what you can do with that, and have to keep the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
kind
and
of roof?
and Corey had to talk with this state, whatever they are,
Yeah.
historic preservation, and said
Yeah.
like, hey, either we can just let the building fall in, or we can do something.
Yeah.
And like, okay, I guess we'll have a meeting.
But they're mandating that you
They-
have to keep the slate
They were
roof?
very resistive to any communications or any, like,
Really?
working with us, and I'm like, well, we're gonna fix the building, but
Yeah.
they didn't care, they were. But now that we have a new manager, we'll let him handle it with his contacts in the state. Well, cause it's you know, different people work
Well,
differently together, you know,
Sure.
so that's, you know, so hopefully, so the big vision is get water and sewer down there.
Yeah.
May upgrade the bathrooms, cause we all know those need to be
Bathrooms are
upgraded.
in pretty tough shape.
But you can't touch a bathroom, you can't add one fixture down there without upgrading that septic, cause it's so old, and
Alright.
then you go into the water issue, so.
Huh.
There's a lot of moving parts, and it's gonna take probably a year or two for Casey to figure it
Sure.
all out. And once he does, like, then
Sure.
we're gonna start implementing it, we're not just gonna sit it on the shelf, like we, you know, we did a DPW, we did the new town hall, we're gonna
Yeah.
do a fire department, we're gonna, you know, it's gonna keep going, we got enough money in LOT, we can
Again,
do a
and
bunch
LOT's
of
paid for
stuff.
that would pay for the new fire department headquarters,
Yeah, next year, we're
presumably?
looking to bring in like 1.4 million with
Are you
LOT.
really?
So we can start allocating that, we can start, if we can get good loans at, like, I think the town hall loan interest rate is like 2.9%. Let's
Yeah.
go borrow some money, we just pay it up, like,
Yeah.
you know, and then we can start having these things in the town that we've been talking about for
Yeah.
30 years.
A rough price tag for bringing water and sewer to the bay, have you got a rough, have you heard like 7 million or 10
Oh,
million?
what, water was just like 5 million with the old
Is that
study, but
right?
I think it's close to like 30.
Well, is
Yeah,
that right, 30,
yeah, something
maybe
like- it was
30
quite a-
mil?
But that was just kind of
But
preliminary.
you could do, LOT money could be used to do that possibly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you could bond or whatever with that, like we pay
Yeah.
$250,000 a year that's allocated to pay for the town hall. We
Yeah.
could allocate $500,000, whatever it may be, there might be some grants out
And
there.
I think
but
city's got sewer capacity if that were to happen, I believe.
That's what we're being told,
Yeah.
as of right now.
Huh.
But we'll see when we cross that
Casey,
bridge.
any thoughts on that?
Well, part of that CHIP program was to improve those systems
Yeah.
and get that, and that would be where we would look, because that's one of the corridors that we could go down
Yeah.
with utilizing that. So if we can get state money to help build that infrastructure down,
Yeah.
because we can build off from there. If you get that money to go down there, and that eases us, so we don't have to worry about what's going on with the Stonehouse and what's going on with this other project.
Yeah.
If the state can help us, then you can see good growth and you know, healthier land, because you're not, you know, you have the sewer and wastewater going through.
Yeah.
So that would be really important. That'd be something that we hopefully can work on, utilizing any kind of state money that we can.
And the interim town manager has been working with some of the bigger parcel
Yeah.
owners down there, and it's like, hey, are you interested in doing a chip project? We'll do this, we'll do, and
Yep.
everybody's pretty open to it. They're like, yeah, if I can get, $100,000 an acre versus 25, like, yeah, sure, I'm all about it, so.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of big parcels down there. I think it's doable. We just gotta have a plan and have a full-time manager on board, which we
Yeah.
do have now, so.
I think I mentioned I bumped into Mitch Montaigne at Collins Pearly this morning, and about the first words out of his mouth was, water, sewer line down to the bay.
Yeah, he wants it too, cause now he owns a
Sure.
town hall, like
Yeah.
that thing's not gonna be much more than it is now. I'm sure
Yeah.
he's got plans, but if we had water and sewer,
Sure.
who knows what's gonna go in, and
Yeah.
all those buildings down there could
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
With water and sewer, that's huge.
Yeah. What's the latest, a former Public Works garage, talk about a boat access, or what's the latest with the former Public Works garage site on Lake Champlain? I know that's getting attention, Jonathan.
Yeah, oh yeah, so I think I don't think we hired a firm to do the survey, but we were
Yeah.
gathering all the data as far as like elevations and stuff like that to send out to the firms to get a quote on
Yeah,
what it's gonna cost to turn it into something that looks like a boat launch right now.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of data we had to collect because the firms are like, well, we don't know, we don't know what we're up against.
Yeah.
It's kind of some like engineering, surveying, stuff like that.
yeah. But that sounds like the likeliest future for
I
them.
think so. You know what? And in 5 to 10 years, we get water and sewer down there. It's just a
Yeah.
parking lot. Who
Yeah.
cares? Turn it into something different. Put a
Yeah.
hotel. If the area grows by 1,500 people and
Yeah.
whatever, put a hotel up there. Like, I'm all for it. But leaving it vacant for the next 5 to 10 years, I think that would draw a lot of people into the town. It would just help. It would just help tremendously.
Yeah,
It would just open, and it would bring more people in, and you wouldn't believe the visitors that come down there.
yeah.
I have an Airbnb, and they come from all over.
Is that right?
Like Germany, everywhere. They just come from all, and they love it. It's beautiful. They're like, this is so great.
Yeah. Again, Thanksgiving a week away, taping the show on November 20, Christmas a little over a month away. Taylor Park's come back to light, great lights in Taylor Park. You'll do the usual tree and light down at the Bay Park, I assume?
Yeah, I don't know if they found a tree yet.
think
Is
they-
that coming up?
I think they did. They might. I don't know if there was talks about it. We had a meeting on Monday, and they were talking about it. And we may have found one that's going to be ready to go soon.
That's been in the past, you've done a
Yeah.
nice job with that.
I think
Yeah.
they do the Holly Jolly Jamboree or something like that.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
The Jolly Jamboree's going
Well,
on.
so Casey, you certainly do have a lot of contacts in state government. That would certainly seem to be a big plus of your new job, I would think.
Yeah, and I hope to lean on everyone that I can. I have a really good working relationship in the governor's administration.
Yeah. Of
People in
course,
the House and
Tate
Senate.
Brooks, Tate's not too far away.
Tate
Probably
Brooks.
interviewed Tate the other day.
Yeah, Tate Brooks, Dustin agrees, works in the administration
Yeah.
as well, and they would be, all it takes is a phone call or a text message to say, who do I talk to
And
about this?
Dustin Degree, you got Dustin, of course, another familiar face.
Yep. So they will be helpful. It's always been helpful with Franklin County in the state when we go down to represent, because we do have a lot of people in there that we trust that can help us make the best decisions for Franklin County and
Yeah.
St. Albans.
Your colleague, Representative Dickinson, I guess the most veteran Franklin County
Yeah.
legislator, that maybe eat pretty easily
Yeah.
these days.
Yep. And she's on appropriations, which is not an
appropriations.
easy task for her,
I
for
bet.
anyone, because they have, and we're only there Tuesday through Friday. Appropriations there every day.
Oh, is that right?
And
Every
they
day?
get a stack of a folder like this,
Wow.
and they have to work on the budget and how to appropriate all that money. And they're gonna have a tough job this year because I'm like I said, that December 1st letter is gonna come, and I don't know if it's gonna be to the advantage that we've had the last 10 years where we've seen economic growth, unexpected revenues.
Yeah.
But hopefully I'm wrong, and hopefully that we do see a continued trend up.
You mentioned the state really doesn't have plenty of revenue coming in, but spending's the issue. Can you picture, could state government be made smaller? I mean, are there ways you could somehow spend less money? Can you picture state government getting set? Oh, it seems to get bigger, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see. Our budget last year was in $9 billion. It was
9.1 bill, I think.
$9.1 billion, and that was it's a lot more than we've spent in the last
Gone way up, I guess.
Yeah, it was $2 billion like 15 years ago or something like that, and so it would be nice, but
Yeah. Anyway, Well, I guess on that, would be nice, we'll call it a day, but Casey, again, congrats on your new job.
Thank
Good
you.
luck with your new job.
Thank you.
Again, new Town Manager Casey Toof, and still State Rep Casey Toof, and Jonathan Giroux, Chair of the St. Albans Town Select Board. Thanks for the time, folks.
you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Have a good Thanksgiving, good holidays and stuff. Thanks to my key producer out there, Alan Cunningham, and I'm Richard Cowperthwait. Thanks for watching us here on Northwest Access TV. See you next time.